So today I want to tell you a story. It's kind of too long for me to type out. So I thought I'd sit at the park and tell you the story. And it's a true story, and it takes place in East London. So there's a man named Sam, and he's 19 years old, and he's done with high school and starting college, and he meets a woman who's also in college, and they both complete their masters around the same time, and they decide to get married. So they get married, and they have their first child. And for the first couple years, things were wonderful, but as with a lot of marriages, things kind of fell apart because he was cheating on her. So Sam gets this new woman pregnant with twins and goes to his wife and says, this is the deal. And his wife had already checked out of the marriage anyway, so she wasn't surprised. And she said, you know what, I'm just going to file for divorce. And she takes her kid and goes away. So Sam now gets married to his new girl with the twins, and he gets caught up in his life. I mean, this is a lot. He has these two twins all of a sudden. He's got a new job, a new life, has to pay for his house. His wife's not asking for his ex-wife isn't asking for any child support or alimony, but he's still barely making it, so he's really hustling it to try to make a life for himself. And so eventually things calm down for him, and now it's quite a few years later, and his daughters are 16, and he finds himself with a lot of time. He's retired from his job, and he is he has a lot of spare time. So he starts thinking about that first daughter. He thinks, man, I would like to know her. I would really like to know her. But I have absolutely no information as to where she is. I don't know where my ex-wife is. I don't know where my daughter is. He says, I got to fix this. So he tells his concerns to his daughters, and the daughters say, well, why don't you look on social media? You might be able to find them. So he does, but unfortunately he can't find either person. And he says, you know what? Why don't we go back to where I lived with them, to that house in East London, and see if I can, maybe they'll know something. So they drive all the way to this old house that he lived in with his first wife, and the person that answers the door says, no, I don't know anybody by that name, I'm sorry. And he says, no problem, and he gets back in his car, and he's driving around with his daughters, and he's thinking, maybe if we drive around, we'll see her. I mean, the odds are astronomically poor, but maybe we'll see her. So they drive around, but no luck, of course. But they pass by the local newspaper, and they think, maybe they'll do a report, a story on us, and and it'll be in the newspaper. Then maybe my daughter will see it. So they go to the newspaper, and they tell the reporters about their story, and the young reporter thinks, well, that would be a good puff piece for our newspaper. We'll give it a shot. So she takes down all the information, and then takes them outside to take a picture of them. So Sam stands with his back to the street with his two daughters in front of him, and they all smile, and she takes the picture. Everything's good. The woman says, your story will be in the newspaper on the following Thursday, and we will and hopefully maybe we'll get a phone call from this person. So now he goes home back to where he lives with his daughters, and coincidentally, right around that same time, his original daughter, is starting to long for her dad. She never got to know him, and her mom just passed away, so she's kind of all alone now, and she's just 18, and she's all alone, and she thinks, well, if maybe my dad's still alive, maybe I can get to know him. So she finds she's at her job now, and it's the following week on Thursday, and she picks up a newspaper to pass the time, and sees that there's her dad with two girls standing in front of her, right on the newspaper, that they're looking for her. And she's like, oh my God. And then she looks deeper into the photo, and she says, oh my God, there I am. I'm behind them 100 yards in that picture. So sure enough, there she was in the picture behind her dad, and neither of them had any idea. She, of course, contacts the newspaper, and then the newspaper contacts Sam, and they get together, and everybody has a great gathering, and they're all amazed at what had happened. And now, today, they're very close. In fact, Sam moved closer with his 16-year-old daughters to move near his first daughter, and they all live together and are happy in their lives. It's just such an amazing coincidence that she was in that picture behind them, and nobody had any idea. I hope you enjoyed the story. Have a nice day.